McGraw in the Morning continues on the Big 550 KTRS.
Well, we found out just moments ago, ABC News broke the story that former Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher has died at the age of 87. Tom Rivers is in London with ABC News with the reaction. Good morning, Tom Rivers. Good morning. Yes, you may know this, McGraw, or maybe you don't, but domestically she kind of cut people into two camps. You either loved her or you hated her, but everyone respected her. And, words of sadness coming out from all quarters right now. This is just unfolded in literally the news in the last half hour here. And she was one heck of a figure. She was a joy to cover. She was amazing. She led from the front. And as a reporter in the 80s, she was somebody that you loved to interview, and she gave some great quotes. And we're really going to miss her. Those of us that were around in the press at that time covering her, and looking back now, it seems like only yesterday, but it's been a few years now. But sadly, it was a stroke this morning, London time, that got her in the end. She was suffering from Alzheimer's, was she not? Yeah, I mean, she had a series of these called mini strokes going back at least 10 years, and that had its impact on her, an effect on her, slowed her up considerably. Her public engagements really rolled back. We'd have to go back about 10 years on that one. But, she was an icon. She was an incredible figure. As I say, internationally, she, was shoulder to shoulder with Ronald Reagan. And at the time helped to bring about, if you will, the end of the Cold War. Domestically, as I say, people fell into two camps with her, but she did manage to win 3 consecutive elections. She was the prime minister for 21 long years here, the very first female British prime minister in this country. She was, talk for a moment, Tom Rivers, about her unique, not only friendship, but her political connection with Ronald Reagan. It seemed like two giant conservatives were at the top of Europe and the top of U.S. at the same time. Exactly, and as you well know, sometimes it's just a roll of the dice. Sometimes they marry up, sometimes they don't, but this particular time they did. And they rolled out their conservative agendas on both sides of the Atlantic at the same time. Took the form domestically here of, for instance, privatizing a lot of public services. Very, very contentious here, McGraw, and the implications of that are still being felt today. Many people say, that was selling the country silverware. But it was a fascinating time over here. She also brought in a different way of forming taxation, which was rebelled against in the streets right here in Trafalgar Square. So, yes, it's going to be a fascinating, if you will, couple of days here as people look back over that time period, and we'll figure out, where on the scale she lands as far as people that loved her or hated her. But, yes, a passing of an icon, that is for sure. If you're just joining us, Tom Rivers is live in London. Former Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher died this morning at the age of 87. Tom Rivers, if memory serves me correct, didn't she argue against unification of East and West Germany when the wall came down? That's an interesting. I hadn't thought about it for a while, but she was very concerned at that time, and looking at the power that an emerging Germany may have. But she finally came around to that. But again, the only country that could have paid its way through unification at that time really was Germany, and it did that, and it had a large enough checkbook to do so. But boy, some of the challenges, if you think back to the early 90s and looking as we did at that time as reporters, sometimes going back to East Berlin and covering some of the fledgling Democratic elections there was a lot of work to do to bring it up to speed and get it back on track with the West. One of her most famous quotes, I guess, has to be, you were saying she was a quote machine. One of her most famous quotes has to be when she said that there will never be a female prime minister of Great Britain, and then six years later, she became prime minister. Yeah, exactly. She was fascinating. She was riveting to interview. She whether you agreed with her or not, she would lock eye contact, and she was a fascinating world figure.
And as you know, and America kind of looked over at Britain at the time, and for a few years, America didn't know who was the leader of Britain. Well, with Margaret Thatcher, they knew who the leader was, and yes, she certainly cast a long, if you will, imposing figure on the international stage for a long, long time indeed.
I'm sure we'll hear more, and this is going to be a state funeral at the highest magnitude, so I suspect either Joe Biden or President Obama will at least make an appearance at the funeral procession. It'll be
big, it'll be large, and yes, those details, maybe somebody, I'm sure they've worked on contingencies as far as getting those details released out in the public domain. It hasn't happened yet, but as I say, all that stuff will be coming through later on today and in the coming days.
Tom Rivers, real quick, we always talk about the royal family in England. What was the relationship between the Queen and Margaret Thatcher?
I think it was one of mutual respect, and you probably know this. Whoever is Prime Minister of the day, they go over to Buckingham Palace once a week, and they kind of go over the business of that particular week. And she made that trip, as you can well imagine, many, many, many times. And I think the two really, really respected each other.
That's Tom Rivers live in London, joining us moments after it was announced that former British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher died this morning of a stroke at the age of 87. Tom Rivers, thanks for checking in on a very busy day for us.
All right, take care. Thanks.
7:29 here on the Big 550 KTRS. Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan will be forever linked for many, many reasons, including the two conservative giants. That was an era when Republicans were not portrayed as hating women. It was an era where Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher, almost held hands across the Atlantic Ocean, arm in arm. It was a fascinating time. Margaret Thatcher dead at the age of 87.
Hi, this is Jeff Lapidus, a retirement coach. If you want